Again, I mean, out of everyone that's up here, we have yet to penetrate and enter India, although we're hoping that with the help of Franchise India and the support, we should be up and running by Q2 of 2016. But to deal with the question, we look at it backwards from a small brand like us. We literally look at a region and see how much longer our food can remain not only aspirational, even if it becomes part of the mainstay, but how long can it remain fresh? I think as long as you're able to offer you to see and forecast the lifeline of your product a bit longer enough to attract those who might want to contribute or become an investor, we use that perspective as a way to determine markets we enter in. For example, for us is we've been looking into the US, we're about to open in the US. We were interested in the West Coast, so we were looking at California in general. But in California, sushi has become so matured, it's street food. It's no longer the dining aspect which our brand was initially built on. So we're looking at markets like Kentucky, who food concept in general is massive, but it's not known for Japanese. So instead of us looking for places where Japanese exist, we would go to places where people are compelled to consume. And then we either become the option and become part of the choices for the citizens of such places. And from there, you'll determine just how long you might last along, you'll figure out how long it takes for you to become part of the mainstay, the way sushi has become in the West Coast in general. So it'll be the same reason why we looked into India. We looked at how much longer is our brand be valid, the value, worth of it all, before we even decide to look into it to enter India. Because I think when it is that a product will become part of the mainstay, it's very hard to determine because trends and fads and fashion, it's impacting a lot of something that's old. Is Johnny Rocket is making a research. People are researching and they're coming back with examples and such. So that's just my input into it, not particularly from an India perspective, but how we use that question to determine which market we enter and how we will enter. It's based on the potential life cycle of the product.
So for essentially the challenge of our brand, which is a very familiar concept of burgers, which has been there for like 2 decades, is to continue to make this far deeper into Indian consumption pattern. For us, there have been two learnings. When you look at Indian consumers, they want to consume the Western products, but they want to have that Indian feel. They want to have something that is aspirational, like Derek just said, but they yet want it to be affordable. They want something familiar, but each time when they are having that food, they want to discover something new, because they don't want to have something outside that they can cook at home. So therefore, if you essentially direct to your point on how do we have something which is aspirational, affordable, both at the same time, I think our challenge at all points of time, Derek, has been innovation. And therefore, that's the mindset. When Burger King launched it in India, it launched with its iconic Whoppers, which are chicken Whopper, mutton Whopper, and a vegetarian Whopper. All three for the first time in the world. We have a tandoor grill, which has got that familiar taste of tandoori chicken in a bun with a mint sauce. It does phenomenally well. It's a great product. We were amazed at the feedback that we got at Whoppers. People loved its mealsomeness, its wholesomeness, the size of the product. It's the taste, outstanding. we've recently got a burger which is keema crunch. It's got a chicken keema, and it's got a nice fire ring inside it. Does phenomenally well, 59 rupees. So for us and for the industry, in my view, the biggest challenge is to continue to address these 3 points, which is, consumer in India, which is young, wants to go for a Western brand, but they still want something familiar. They still want to discover something new each time they go to you, and they want it affordable. They really want it affordable because they're young. So the key to all of this is a continuous innovation, continuous new product introduction that we need to be doing. And that's our approach.
The short answer, Derek, is I think it's incredibly difficult, right? It's a very good question. I just, let me conduct a mini poll here, right? Hands up, who are the Ola users in the room? Who uses Ola? Come on, you've obviously all got your own drivers, but who uses Uber? Okay, that's the answer, right? I mean, I think the first thing on any of this is we as Western brands, if that's what we're talking about, have zero stomping rights in the market, right? I look at Chayos, I look at Chai Point, I look at Mr. Biryani guy, I look at Vada Pav dude. They're doing amazing things, right? And they don't have the brain damage of working with a Western brand, right? So good for them, they're going to get really, really rich. I'm jealous, and if there's anyone from Chayos, I'll send you my resume at the end of it. But, so look, I think that's the first thing to say is the West is best theory, I think it's looking pretty dated, right? What happens in New York tends to happen in New Delhi pretty quickly. Now that's at a fairly rarefied form of the market. Just from our perspective, look, this is the kind of Wendy's / Jamie's story. The Wendy's pitch, which took us ages to work out, we don't want to get into a battle with our friends here and McDonald's because we don't think we can win that. That's a different game. We want to be just as affordable because we recognise that every rupee you come down, the market dramatically expands. It's a very flat-sided pyramid, which you all know. When we thought about Wendy's, the first thing we said to ourselves was, does a Wendy's in a strip mall in the Midwest of the United States have any real relevance for a tier 1 Indian city, right? And the answer, and honestly, who knows if this is going to work, but this is our thought process. The first thing we said was, look, some things are universal and kind of forever, like good food, right? Wendy's is kind of about good food. That's its ethos. It's a good business. It has a really nice soul. But frankly, everything else, local menu, we all know, it doesn't have to be a Desi menu, but it's going to have to change for the palate. That's an absolute given. I think these days, you look at the kids in Delhi, Bombay, everywhere, the guys on Brigade Road, Linking Road, wherever it is, the plastic look of the traditional American QSR, it ain't going to fly, right? Look at Cafe Delhi Heights, look at Amici, look at Indigo Delhi, right? Those are a much cooler design vibe. And there's nothing incompatible. So, we, with the blessing of the brand, have moved that argument on because we just don't think it'll fly here. And then we thought, well, QSR, right? QSR is in secular decline in the established markets, right? It's no wonder the brands are queuing up in India because there might be some like-for-like growth here if our customers, want that. But the reality here, and this was our thought process, was you can't play that game, right? So then we got into stuff like table service, and that's, we're the first market for Wendy's to do that. Social media is massive. It's bigger than your restaurant, right? So trying to work on these sort of meta themes to be more than just a restaurant, feels terribly important because the kids, the millennials, right, they will kill you. They'll absolutely kill you. They'll walk away. They'll be out. They'll be shouting about you. So, you've got to engage with them. Now, early days for us. Just quickly on Jamie's, because we haven't even launched the damn thing. So this is the thought process, right? So we'll do an Italian restaurant. You don't have to change that much. People, it's what we're doing, I think, is pretty popular. But then we thought, what about a pizzeria, right? And this was our thought process, right? We said to ourselves, hey, look at Domino's. Wouldn't you love to be Domino's? I mean, I'd love to be Domino's. I was with my kids in Gangtok recently. There's a Domino's in Gangtok. I mean, it's brilliant, right? Now, if that's at a $320 price point, our observation with Jamie's was, well, maybe people want to trade up a bit. So we're trying to create a pizzeria that sits at the sort of $400 mark. So you go in with your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you get a fab pizza and a glass of beer for $400, right? The reason I'm saying this is from our learning, if you're going to get into the Western stuff, you've got to have a perspective, right? And you can't do what every other guy is doing, because Mr. Chai Point or Mr. Chayo will eat you up, is my opinion. Sorry, speech over.
Okay, thank you. Just to follow up on that idea of differentiation, I think this will be an open question, anyone can respond to if they'd like to. If the idea is to differentiate, one way to look at differentiation is on occasions. So what are the occasions, or do you have a list of priority consumption occasions that you continue to repeat within your organizations or within your business plans, that these are the ones we're going to win? If you do, why? And within that, are there occasions that you've found for Western brands in India that maybe your brands don't have, in their home markets? So the occasion set in that strip mall in the Midwest versus the occasion set that you're seeing here. How are people using that different? Have you discovered any new occasions that you pursue?
Hello, me again. Let me try and answer it this way, right? All of us guys here, when we execute leases, we take a big deep breath and we write out this crazy deposit, right? And we look at last year's South Delhi number and says, oh my God, what's happened, right? So the point here is your real estate's expensive. The next thing, we sign off some investment case, think, oh my God, it cost me 2.5 crores to build this damn restaurant, right? Or whatever it costs you. But I think our thought process around this is, and this feels like this is the trend internationally, is you've got to figure out how to use all day parts, right? You've got this asset, it's incredibly expensive, you're paying huge money to a landlord. So what we're trying to do is, if you like, build format for the day parts. We all know that things like breakfast is a kind of complex game here from a Western perspective, but the supply of fantastic sites is limited. People need places to hang out. And then our thought process is, how can you capture them every bit of the day? Some people go down the booze route, some people go down the coffee route. But I'm probably not answering your question, but the principle is, my advice to anyone would be sweat your asset, right?
Yeah, and therefore, continuously, our observation essentially has been, if you look at it in order of sequence, it's dinner, and then it goes to lunch, and then snack, and then breakfast in India. And breakfast is the least consumed opportunity, but and that's kind of day parts. And if you look at different occasions, it's most of it is groups. It's most of celebration, and then hangouts, like Jasper just said, and break. You just want to take a break, go out, spend some time. Those occasions, and so on. So, going back to the whole philosophy on how we therefore design our asset as well as food to address all of these different occasions, whether it's day parts as well as consumption occasions, how the people come to you and how do you consume your brand, is the key. And therefore we tend to look at it day part by day part, occasion by occasion, and analyze each food item, each product, and say, what do we have here? And how will our people consume us? Do we have a gap at snack? And therefore, what happens from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.? And what are people eating? And that's been the continuous emphasis, and that's the continuous process for us.
Have you found any cases where those day parts fill a different role in the Indian context than maybe what Burger King does in, say, a market like the US?
Yeah, so clearly, we, for us, if you look at globally, breakfast tends to be very strong. For instance, over here, people prefer things on the go. If people aren't really coming to you and in the morning, and they have time to sit and consume you. So the whole philosophy around those day parts has become very different, and that's therefore the entire innovation as well as our philosophy around for products has been evolving to that extent.
So I think again, Derek, great question, and I'll split it two ways. I think one is special days in the calendar where you need to use those days as your marketing tools. I think that's again, there will be days which are more international. So for example, being Mexican cuisine, we do celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and we are also able to celebrate Independence Day, so Indian Independence Day just as well, and 4th of July as well. So we use these international days more as a marketing tool rather than anything else to boost the sales on those particular days. And most of the Indian holidays are also dry days in many of our parts, so that helps us get a little extra sales on those days. But I think then there is the common days, and there are two things that I'd like to share with the group here. Is we're doing something which Chili's has not done globally ever. One is in our Indiranagar outlet in Bangalore. We noticed that everybody loves music, live music, and they love going out on a Friday night with places that are doing some kind of a DJ event or something. And Chili's is more fun, casual, but they never done live experiences in the restaurants. And we approached the brand and we talked to them about it, and they were pretty happy with allowing that. So we do a karaoke night on a Friday. And that adds to the experience, and we've seen great response from the same customers that we've been getting, and they've come back and said, this is great, and we've had people sing along to those songs, right from 15-year-old kids to 65-year-old fathers of those kids, and fathers and grandfathers, and it's been great. The second thing we've done, which is again not happened elsewhere, is a brunch. Again, to Jamie's point, great point on utilizing and sweating the asset, because you're paying top dollar for that real estate. Saturdays and Sundays in Bombay as well as in Indiranagar in Bangalore, we've started doing brunch, which starts at 11 in the morning, not from the traditional 12:30 when we see customers come in, because a lot of the other restaurants nearby are doing it. That's the time which is family time. People want to hang out with their stuff. And for the first time in Chili's, we're doing a kids activity on those days. So on a Sunday morning, along with the brunch, there is a art and crafts, there is a storytelling, there is a book reading, there is lots of stuff which the kids can do. So the parents can go and have a nice brunch, which is unlimited food and unlimited liquor, and the kids can be at the workshop learning new things. So this is stuff which has been done for the first time in Chili's in India, but the brand has completely accepted and allowed that only because it adds to the entire brand promise which Chili's has, which is family dining, casual dining, fun atmosphere. I think if you went and want to set up a nightclub in Chili's, I'm pretty sure they're not going to allow that. So, but we've done our research in terms of what will work in our markets, and they've been happy to approve that, happy to go along with our thought process in that.